There's a certain kind of pain we carry, the kind that doesn't come from failure or heartbreak or even loss. It's the pain of trying too hard to control what was never ours to manage in the first place. We plan, we push, we obsess over every detail, believing that if we just do enough, know enough, anticipate enough, then maybe life will finally cooperate. Maybe peace will come, but it doesn't. Instead, we find ourselves exhausted, anxious, and quietly disappointed, not because life is cruel, but because we've chained our well-being to things we were never meant to hold. The truth is hard to swallow, but freeing once embraced. We are not in control of most things. We can't dictate how people treat us when opportunities arrive, or how the story unfolds. And the more we resist this truth, the more we suffer. We torture ourselves with endless what-ifs and worst-case scenarios, hoping that worry will somehow shield us from chaos. But it never does. It only steals the present moment, making us prisoners of a future we can't predict and a past we can't fix. So what if the answer isn't to try harder, but to let go? What if life is less about force and more about flow? What if the deepest form of wisdom is learning to surrender, not out of weakness, but out of trust? Not because we've given up, but because we've finally understood that something greater is at work. Call it God, call it the universe, call it the rhythm of life. But whatever name you give it, it's real, and it's moving whether you resist or ride with it. This episode isn't about doing more. It's about releasing what's not yours. It's about finding strength in surrender, peace in patience, and clarity in letting go. It's about recognizing that you are not here to control everything. You're here to live with trust, respond with wisdom, and walk forward even when the road is hidden. So if you've been carrying the weight of needing all the answers, if you've been torturing yourself trying to fix things beyond your reach, take a breath. This is your invitation to release, not to drift aimlessly, but to trust deeply, not to stop caring, but to stop clinging. Life may not always go your way, but maybe, just maybe, it's going a better way. One you couldn't have planned, one you'll only see clearly when you stop fighting and start flowing. Now let's begin. Stop wrestling with what you can't control. Choose your peace. Instead, there's a quiet kind of suffering that grows when we try to control the uncontrollable. It starts small, a lingering thought, a restless night, a conversation we replay again and again in our minds, hoping for a different outcome. Then it deepens. It becomes a tension we carry in our bodies, a weight in our chest, a low hum of anxiety we can't seem to shake. And most of the time, we don't even realize where it's coming from. But if we pause long enough to look closer, we'll find it rooted in one thing: resistance. Resistance to what is, resistance to how things unfolded, resistance to the truth that we are not in control. We live in a world that glorifies control. We're told that if we work hard enough, prepare enough, visualize enough, we can shape our lives exactly the way we want. But the reality is more humbling. Yes, effort matters, discipline matters, but they don't guarantee outcomes. You can do everything right and still face rejection. You can plan everything to perfection and still be met with silence. That's not failure. It's life. And the more we try to bend reality to our will, the more life resists, not out of cruelty, but out of wisdom. Because control is not the path to peace. Acceptance is. There's a strange kind of power that comes the moment you stop fighting what you can't change. Not a loud, dramatic surrender, but a quiet, internal release. It sounds like, "This isn't mine to carry." It feels like peace returning to your body, and it opens a space for something better, Not necessarily easier, but truer. Because when you stop trying to manipulate life into your ideal version, you make room for a deeper alignment. You start to see what's actually possible, not just what your fear demands. The Stoics spoke of this often, not as an excuse to be passive, but as a way to free the mind. Marcus Aurelius said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, the thing you're resisting might actually be your teacher. The circumstance you hate might be building the very strength you'll need for what's next. But you'll only see that if you stop fighting it. You'll only feel that peace when you decide, consciously, to stop wrestling with what's beyond your reach. You can't control the weather. You can't control the thoughts of others, or the timing of life, or how the story unfolds. But you can control what you do with this moment. You can decide to respond with presence instead of panic, with clarity instead of chaos, with grace instead of resistance. And in that decision, everything begins to shift. This isn't about giving up. It's about giving in, not to defeat, but to wisdom. It's about trusting that your energy is better spent building what you can, rather than breaking yourself over what you can't. Because the truth is, peace doesn't come from having control. It comes from no longer needing it. Now, if you've been at war with a part of your life, this is your reminder. You're allowed to stop fighting. You're allowed to rest. The battle was never yours to begin with. The moment you choose peace over control, you reclaim your life. Trust the process. The universe knows better than you. There's something humbling about admitting you don't know what's best for you. We like to believe we do. We build plans, draw timelines, map out our futures with precision, assuming that life will obey our logic. But life rarely follows straight lines. It bends, it breaks, it surprises. And often it takes us places we never asked to go, only to reveal something we never knew we needed. Still, in the moment, we panic. We see the detour as failure, the delay as punishment, the uncertainty as danger. And we forget that some of the most meaningful transformations in our lives didn't come through control. They came through surrender. You might be in a season right now where nothing makes sense. The doors you wanted to open are shut. The answers you prayed for are silent. And everything in you wants to take control, to fix it, to force it, to figure it all out. But maybe this is not a puzzle to solve. Maybe it's a path to walk. Slowly, with faith, with patience, and with trust that something bigger is unfolding beyond what your eyes can see. It's easy to trust when life feels aligned, when the outcomes match your expectations. But real trust, the kind that transforms you, begins when nothing is clear, when your plans fall apart and you're left with nothing but the quiet voice inside that whispers, "Keep going anyway." That's when trust becomes powerful, not because it changes the situation, but because it changes you. The Stoics taught this kind of surrender, not as weakness, but as wisdom. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The events of life are not always ours to choose, but the lens through which we interpret them, that is. When you believe the process is working for you, not against you, even the setbacks feel sacred. Even the silence feels like a form of guidance. Sometimes we don't get what we want because we're not ready for it yet. Sometimes the thing we think we need would actually destroy us if it arrived too soon. And sometimes the absence of an answer is itself an answer. Wait. Grow first. Become who you need to be. Let life mature your strength before it hands you the blessing. And it's not about blind optimism either. This isn't about pretending everything is perfect. It's about seeing life with depth, understanding that the chaos may have structure you don't yet understand, that the no might be a yes in disguise, that the pause is not punishment, it's preparation. It's not always obvious, and it's rarely comfortable, but it's purposeful, always. You don't have to know how it ends. You just have to keep showing up, one honest step at a time. You don't have to control the process. You just have to trust that it's intelligent, that it's leading you somewhere good, even if it doesn't feel good yet. And if you're wondering what to do while you wait, keep living, keep growing, keep loving, keep doing the small things with care, because that's what creates alignment. That's what shows life, or God, or the universe, that you're not just asking for more, you're becoming more. So take a breath. Let go of the need to control the outcome. Trust the process. You're not lost, you're just becoming. Be patient with the unknown. Growth is happening in silence. We often think that if something isn't visible, it isn't real. If we can't measure it, see it, explain it, then maybe it's not happening at all. But so much of what truly matters in life begins in silence, in obscurity, in places we never notice until they've already shaped us. Growth is rarely loud. Transformation doesn't always come with a spotlight. Sometimes it feels like waiting. Sometimes it feels like nothing. But underneath the surface, something essential is forming, something that cannot be rushed. There are seasons when you'll look around and feel like nothing is changing. You'll question your progress, doubt your path, wonder if you've somehow missed the timing of your life. But these are the moments that test more than your plans. They test your spirit, your patience, your willingness to trust something deeper than proof. Because real growth doesn't always come with announcements. It comes in quiet perseverance, in showing up when no one claps, in continuing forward when the future is blurry and the reward invisible. The danger in our world today is that we've become addicted to immediate results, instant validation, fast answers. But the most meaningful things in life don't arrive on demand. They ripen slowly. They take time to mature, not because life is punishing you, but because you're becoming someone who can carry what you're asking for. It's not just about what you want. It's about who you're becoming while you wait. The Stoics understood this better than most. Seneca once said, "He suffers more than necessary, who suffers before it is necessary." Worrying about what hasn't yet happened, or rushing to escape the stillness, only adds suffering to a season that's meant to build you. The unknown is not your enemy. It's the space where possibility lives, where identity deepens, where faith is refined. You're not being delayed, you're being developed. So don't mistake silence for absence. Don't confuse slowness with failure. A seed does not look like a tree, and yet within it is everything it needs to become one. Your current season may look like dormancy, but something sacred is taking root. You're learning patience. You're building resilience. You're being prepared, not punished. If you rush this part of the process, you rob yourself of depth. You short-circuit the beauty that only time can create. There is wisdom in waiting, but it's not passive. It's an active trust, a choice to believe every day that your life is moving even when your eyes can't see it. It's in how you wake up with intention, how you show up with love, how you do the next right thing, even when no one is watching. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to feel progress every single day. But you do have to stay open to what this moment is teaching you, open to the idea that maybe the quiet season is not punishment, but preparation for something bigger than you can imagine right now. Let the unknown shape you. Let it humble you. Let it make you someone who doesn't just chase outcomes, but learns how to live deeply in between them. Because the truth is, you're not stuck. You're not behind. You're not broken. You're just growing quietly. Be present in your journey. The end will take care of itself. It's easy to become obsessed with the outcome. We want certainty, closure, guarantees. So we push forward with our eyes fixed on the future, convinced that once we arrive at the destination, the perfect job, the healed relationship, the fulfilled dream, then we'll finally be at peace. But that belief is a trap, because every time you arrive somewhere, the finish line moves. You achieve, and then you want more. You solve one problem, and another appears. Life keeps expanding, shifting, unfolding, and if your peace depends on the end, you'll never rest. The truth is, the end is never what you think it is. It's not a static moment where everything finally aligns. It's not a point where you get to stop trying or stop growing, because life isn't linear, it's layered, circular, ever evolving, and the only thing you truly have is the process. This moment, this breath, this conversation, this version of you that's still learning, still building, still becoming. If you rush through the journey just to reach the end, you miss the only part of life that's actually real, the part that's happening right now. Being present isn't just a spiritual ideal, it's a practical necessity. It's the difference between showing up and going through the motions. It's the difference between living and waiting to live. You don't have to know what's 5 steps ahead. You just have to be here, fully, honestly, and intentionally. The future will come. It always does. But what kind of person will meet it? That's being shaped in the now. There's a reason we admire those who stay grounded under pressure, who seem calm in chaos. It's not because their lives are easier. It's because they've learned to find peace in the process. They've learned that presence is a form of power, that when you bring your full attention to where you are, you awaken the ability to respond wisely, create meaning, and live with depth, even if the bigger picture is still unclear. Marcus Aurelius once said, "What we do now echoes in eternity." What you do in this moment, how you love, how you speak, how you choose to see your situation, it shapes everything that follows. The small things you do today ripple into the future you'll meet tomorrow. So stop trying to fast forward through the chapters. Live this one, not because it's perfect, but because it's yours. And yes, you might still have goals, dreams, visions of how you want your life to look. That's beautiful. But let them guide you, not control you. Let them inspire your steps, not steal your peace. Because the end will take care of itself. It always does. What matters is how you walk the road, how you carry yourself through the process. That's where meaning lives. That's where character is formed. That's where your story becomes something worth telling, not just because of where it ended, but because of how you moved through it. So take a breath. Bring your focus back to now. This is not a waiting room. This is life. And the more you show up for it, the more alive you'll feel, even before the ending arrives. Focus on your response, not the circumstances. There's a natural instinct in all of us to want to control what's happening around us. When something goes wrong, we try to fix it. When someone treats us unfairly, we want justice. When plans fall apart, we scramble to rearrange the pieces. But despite all our effort, the truth remains. You don't get to choose your circumstances. You don't get to control what people do, how they feel, or when life throws a curveball. What you do get to control, and what makes all the difference, is how you respond. This isn't about pretending that things don't hurt. Life can be brutal. People can disappoint you. Opportunities can slip away. But pain doesn't have to turn into suffering, and that's where response becomes power. Between what happens to you and what you do next, there's a space. In that space, you decide who you want to be. Will you lash out? Will you shut down? Or will you pause, breathe, and choose a response that aligns with your values, not just your emotions? It takes strength to choose your response. It takes clarity to not let the chaos around you become chaos within you. But this is the heart of personal freedom, because if your peace depends on things going your way, then your peace is fragile. It can be stolen at any moment. But if your peace depends on your response, then no one can take it from you. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, said it simply: "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." That idea is more than philosophy. It's a blueprint for resilience. You could face the same challenge as someone else and walk away wiser while they walk away bitter. Not because the situation was different, but because your interpretation was. Because you chose to respond, not just react. Think about it. How many regrets in your life come from what happened to you? And how many come from how you responded? Most of the time, the damage isn't in the event itself, but in the way we carry it. The stories we tell ourselves, the grudges we hold, the fear we feed. But when you respond with awareness, when you stop, reflect, and act from a place of calm rather than chaos, you break the cycle. You turn pain into power. You turn setbacks into stepping stones. This doesn't mean you always have to be composed. You're human. Emotions are real, but you can feel deeply without being ruled by your feelings. You can acknowledge pain without letting it write your story. And in doing so, you start to shift the balance. You start to become someone who shapes the environment instead of being shaped by it. So the next time something happens, a disappointment, a loss, a harsh word, pause. Ask yourself, what does the highest version of me do in this moment? What would someone with strength, patience, and wisdom choose? Then do that. Not because it's easy, but because it's who you're becoming. The more you do this, the more you'll realize life doesn't have to be perfect for you to be at peace. You just need to stop giving away your power. You don't need to control the world. You just need to master your response to it. Learn to trust that things will fall into place. There's a subtle kind of fear that creeps in when life doesn't go according to plan. It's not loud or dramatic. It's quiet, persistent. The feeling that something's missing, that you're behind, that things aren't moving fast enough. You begin to question yourself. Am I doing enough? Did I make the wrong choice? Is everything falling apart? And in that mental spiral, it's easy to believe that unless you're constantly pushing, constantly fixing, constantly planning, nothing good will ever happen. But what if that's not true? What if things are actually falling into place, not apart? What if the delays are actually alignments in disguise? What if the closed doors are saving you from paths that were never yours to begin with? We rarely see the full picture in real time. You look at a chapter and it makes no sense. But later, sometimes years later, you see how that chapter set up everything else. You see how one disappointment led to a better opportunity. How one heartbreak cracked you open in a way that allowed something deeper to enter. It doesn't make the pain disappear, but it gives it purpose. It shows you that what felt like loss was, in fact, a necessary shift. This is where trust comes in. Not blind trust, but earned trust. Trust that is built from looking back at all the times you thought it was over, and yet somehow you kept going. All the moments you thought you were stuck, only to realize later you were growing roots. Strong ones, ones that could support the weight of the life you're meant to build. Seneca once said, "He who is brave is free," and it takes bravery to live with trust, to let go of needing to see the whole staircase before taking the first step, to keep your heart open in a world that often rewards cynicism. But this is how alignment works, not by force, but by flow. Not by chasing everything, but by creating space for what's meant to find you. When you stop trying to control every detail, you allow life to breathe. You give yourself permission to receive, not just to strive. You learn to listen, not just to your fear, but to the deeper wisdom within you. And in that space, something shifts. You stop asking, "How do I make everything work?" and start asking, "How can I become the kind of person who's ready for what's meant for me?" Because sometimes the thing that's missing isn't out there. It's still forming inside you. The job will come, the love will come, the clarity will come. But first, the version of you that can hold it needs to be built. And that version is shaped in the waiting, in the uncertainty, in the trust. So if you're in a place right now where nothing seems certain, where your plans are blurry and your path feels shaky, take heart. You're not off track. You're not lost. You're just in the part of the story where the pieces are moving, rearranging, aligning. You don't have to force it. You just have to stay open, stay grounded, keep showing up with faith, even when you don't have proof. Things have a way of coming together when you stop trying to control how and when. Let life surprise you. Let grace enter. Let what's meant for you arrive in its own time, in its own way. It always does. Let God's timing be your peace. We live in a world that doesn't like to wait. Everything is built around speed, fast answers, instant rewards, quick success. And somewhere along the way, we started to believe that if something takes time, something must be wrong. That if we don't see progress immediately, we've fallen behind. But that belief is not only exhausting, it's dangerous. Because some of the most important things in life can't be rushed. They take time to become what they're meant to be. And more importantly, they take time because you are still becoming who you need to be in order to receive them. There's a divine rhythm to life that isn't measured by urgency. It's not built on your deadlines. It doesn't bow to your timeline. It works on a different clock, one that's aligned not with your fear, but with your purpose. And if you've ever tried to force something before it's time, you know the frustration that comes from it. Doors won't open, people drift away, plans collapse. Not because you failed, but because you were trying to control what was meant to unfold. You were chasing timing that wasn't yours to command. But when you stop resisting that rhythm, something changes. You begin to feel lighter, more aligned, more at peace, not because everything makes sense, but because you're no longer fighting time itself. You begin to trust that what's meant for you isn't being withheld, it's being prepared. And maybe, just maybe, you're being prepared too. Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And mastery doesn't always look like control. Sometimes it looks like patience, like sitting in the silence without needing to fill it, like walking forward even when the next steps aren't clear, like believing that just because something hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it never will. It just means it's not the right time, and that's okay. There's something incredibly freeing about trusting that God, or the universe, or whatever force you believe is guiding your life, sees the full picture, even when you can't. That what you call a delay might be divine protection. That what you call rejection might be redirection. That your timeline isn't broken, it's just not the only timeline. You don't need to panic when things don't move fast enough. You don't need to rush to catch up with someone else's path, because your life isn't behind. It's unfolding, it's breathing, it's learning, and the moment you stop measuring your worth by your pace, you start living with a peace that nothing outside you can touch. Let God's timing be your anchor. Let it be the thing that steadies you when life feels chaotic. You don't need to manipulate every moment. You don't need to rush every process. All you need is to trust, deeply, courageously, that the moment you're meant for is also being shaped, and that when it arrives, it will meet you whole. Patience is not passive. It's faith in motion. It's choosing to believe that what's real can never be lost, only delayed for a reason that serves you. And in that space between wanting and receiving, something beautiful happens. You become the kind of person who can carry the blessing, not just wish for it. So breathe, wait with trust, walk with peace, and let the timing of life, the divine timing, do what it's always done, show up exactly when it's meant to. Accept the present moment fully. It's all you truly have. We spend so much of our lives either running from the past or chasing the future. Our minds replay old conversations, old mistakes, old versions of ourselves we wish we could go back and fix. Or they leap ahead into tomorrow, wondering, worrying, planning, fearing. But in all that running and chasing, we miss the only thing that's actually real. This moment, right here, right now. It's the only thing that exists, and yet it's often the hardest place to be. There's a kind of magic in full presence, but most of us don't slow down long enough to feel it. We treat the present as a bridge, just something to cross on the way to where we want to be. But what if the present isn't just a path? What if it's the destination? What if everything you're hoping to feel one day, peace, clarity, joy, meaning, is already available right now if you stop resisting where you are? Resistance is subtle. It sounds like, "This shouldn't be happening," or "I'll be happy when," or "I need this to change before I can breathe again." But the moment you argue with reality, you lose. Not because life is punishing you, but because the fight itself exhausts you. It distracts you from what's still available, your ability to choose your perspective, your response, your presence. You may not love what's happening, but you can still be with it fully. You can still choose to meet this moment with grace instead of tension. Epictetus said, "Don't waste time on what you can't control." And that includes the present. Fighting it doesn't fix it, but accepting it, really accepting it, is how healing begins. Not passive acceptance that gives up, but active acceptance that says, "This is where I am, and I will meet it fully." That kind of mindset opens doors. It doesn't mean you settle. It means you engage. It means you stop waiting for better circumstances before deciding to live. Because when you delay presence, you delay life, you delay joy, you delay connection. You put your aliveness on hold, waiting for conditions to be perfect while the imperfect moments pass you by. But the truth is, every sacred thing you've ever experienced, love, growth, breakthrough, happened in a present moment. They didn't wait for permission. They arrived when you were paying attention. So slow down. Come back to your breath. Feel your feet on the ground. Look around, not at what's missing, but at what's here. The sky above you, the breath within you, the quiet invitation life keeps offering, saying, "Be here, be now." This is where the power lives. You don't need to escape the moment to be free. You just need to meet it with openness instead of resistance. That's how you reclaim your time. That's how you find peace in the chaos. Not by controlling the moment, but by being present in it. This is your life, not the one you hope for in 5 years, Not the one you're trying to undo from 5 years ago. This one. And when you choose to accept it, fully, courageously, without conditions, you unlock a strength that doesn't depend on anything changing. You stop waiting to live, and you start living, right here, where life is actually happening. Forgive yourself and move forward. There's a quiet weight we carry, one that doesn't show up on the outside, but drags us down from within. It's the voice that whispers, "You should have known better." It's the memory that flashes back uninvited, the mistake, the failure, the moment you said too much or didn't say enough. And no matter how far you've come, no matter how much you've grown, it still finds a way to pull you back into a version of yourself you no longer want to be. This is the weight of self-blame. And if you let it, it will keep you trapped in a prison built from the past. But here's the truth. The past only has power if you keep feeding it. The moment is gone. The mistake is done. And the question is no longer, what did I do? But, who am I becoming now? Because guilt, when held too long, stops being a teacher and becomes a punishment. And you weren't put on this earth to punish yourself. You were put here to learn, to grow, to evolve beyond the very things that once held you back. It's easy to forgive others. We tell ourselves, they didn't know better. We give them grace. We assume the best. But when it comes to ourselves, we're ruthless. We replay our lowest moments like they're our final definition. We confuse regret with identity. But you are not your worst day. You are not the version of you who didn't yet know how to choose better. You are the person who is still here, still breathing, still becoming, and that alone makes you worthy of forgiveness. Gandhi once said, "Forgiveness is the attribute of the strong." That includes self-forgiveness, because it takes strength to face your past without flinching. It takes courage to say, "Yes, I did that, and I've outgrown it." It takes deep inner power to stop punishing yourself and start loving yourself back into wholeness. That doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean pretending nothing happened. It means holding your past with compassion instead of condemnation. Look at who you are today. Not perfect, but present. Not finished, but still growing. That is the evidence of change. And maybe the thing you're most ashamed of is the very thing that cracked your ego just enough to let the real you start emerging. Maybe your guilt has been trying to tell you something, not that you're unworthy, but that you're ready. Ready to break the cycle. Ready to let the past inform you without defining you. Ready to move forward, lighter. And if the voice in your head keeps dragging you back to who you used to be, here's a reminder. You're allowed to stop listening. You're allowed to write a new story. One where you treat yourself the way you've treated others, with kindness, understanding, and grace. One where your past becomes a bridge, not a barrier. You don't need anyone's permission to forgive yourself. You don't need to wait until you feel ready. Forgiveness isn't about a feeling. It's about a choice, a decision to no longer carry what no longer serves you. And once you make that decision, your energy returns, your clarity sharpens, your life opens again. So today, if you're still holding on to guilt like it's your identity, let go. You're not here to stay stuck in old chapters. You're here to write better ones. And every moment you choose to move forward with compassion is proof that healing is real. And it begins with you. Live with trust and patience. God is arranging your life. There's a quiet kind of strength in the person who waits with trust. Not the one who waits passively, doing nothing, hoping things will magically fix themselves, but the one who wakes up each day, takes one small step forward, and still believes, even when there's no visible progress, even when the road is silent, that something greater is at work, that life or God is arranging things in the background, perfectly, patiently, and with purpose. But let's be honest, trusting the process is hard when everything feels uncertain. It's hard to stay calm when the timing makes no sense. It's hard to stay hopeful when effort goes unnoticed, when doors don't open, when prayers feel unanswered. And yet, every great transformation in life starts this way, in silence, in darkness, in the unknown. That's where the roots grow. That's where character is built. Not in the moments of applause, but in the moments when no one sees you, when it's just you, your faith, and a decision to keep showing up anyway. The truth is, we don't need to understand everything to move forward. We don't need full clarity to take the next step. What we need is trust, not in the illusion of control, but in the wisdom of surrender. Trust that delays are not denials. Trust that the right people, the right timing, the right opportunity, they're not missing, they're maturing. And so are you. Epictetus once said, "The greater the difficulty, the more glory in surmounting it." That means the longer the wait, the deeper the lesson. The harder the struggle, the more profound the strength it awakens in you. Life is not happening to you. It's happening for you, in ways you may not understand now, but will one day thank yourself for enduring. And if you feel like you've waited long enough for the breakthrough, the answer, the peace, ask yourself this: who have you become in the waiting? Because sometimes the greatest gift isn't what you receive at the end. It's who you've grown into along the way. That kind of growth doesn't come quickly. It comes quietly, in the choices no one applauds, in the discipline no one notices, in the faith you hold when everything inside you wants to give up. So maybe today isn't about doing more. Maybe it's about trusting more, letting go of the need to fix everything, releasing the pressure to prove yourself, and remembering that just because you can't see the outcome yet doesn't mean it's not being prepared behind the scenes. The seeds you planted are not forgotten. The effort you've made is not wasted. The silence you feel is not absence, it's construction, divine construction. You are not late, you are not overlooked, you are not forgotten. You are exactly where you need to be, not because everything feels perfect, but because this moment is shaping you for what comes next. Trust that. Rest in it. And keep going. God doesn't work on our timelines, but He always works on time. So maybe the deepest peace we'll ever find won't come from figuring everything out or forcing life to fit our expectations. Maybe it comes when we stop running from the unknown and start walking with it. When we stop gripping so tightly onto the need for answers and start living as if the answers are already unfolding, quietly, perfectly, in ways we're not meant to see just yet. There is a kind of freedom in surrender, not the kind that means giving up, but the kind that means trusting deeply, trusting that the timing is sacred, that the struggles are not random, that the silence is not empty, that you are not being forgotten, but being guided. You don't have to keep torturing yourself with questions you can't answer. You don't have to keep replaying what's already past or fearing what hasn't happened yet. Right here, in this breath, in this moment, you have the chance to choose peace, to choose presence, to choose trust. Not because everything is easy, but because peace is not something you wait for, it's something you create. So live today with open hands. Do your part, but let go of the parts that aren't yours to carry. Let God arrange what you were never meant to control. You are not alone in this process, and one day, when you look back, you'll see how every delay, every detour, every moment of doubt was part of something bigger than you imagined. And you'll whisper to yourself, it was all falling into place. Until then, walk forward, not with fear, but with faith.